Well, last night we saw the first major live music event take place at the O2 Arena in London. It was the Brit Awards live. I only caught a few minutes of it, but it was it was a lively affair from what I could see. And so I could see the clips I saw online. Some of the biggest acts in the world of music, and a very lively affair. And the absolute joy of seeing people without masks in a crowd, sitting together, cheering together, not all socially distanced. It was an absolute pleasure to watch. Let's talk about this with Brendan O'Neill, editor of Spiked Online. Good morning to you, Brendan.
Hi, Julia.
Hi. I mean, it was absolutely lovely being able to see people behaving normally on stage and off stage last night. It wasn't quite the normal sort of raucous affair that it's been for many years, but it was just good to see, wasn't it? Of course, they test everybody before they get in. You have to have a negative test to get in, and they're going to test people again in 5 days' time. No mask, no social distancing. You've got to wonder what they're expecting to happen if a bunch of people who haven't got a disease all sit together in an arena. I mean, really? Are we going to see a massive spike in cases as a result of that?
I don't think so. They're being overcautious. That's clearly what's happening here. But, you know, it's such a wonderful, as you say, it is such a wonderful reminder of what life used to be like. I mean, people without masks, mixing, no social distancing. It is testament to how much has changed over the past year and how many liberties we've lost, that we're quite surprised by these scenes, and we're looking at them with, you know, mouths open thinking, oh my God, is this really happening? So it's great to see it coming back to normal. What I wouldn't like to see coming out of this, because I know the government is testing various live events, I wouldn't like them to become super cautious, to introduce testing everywhere, to introduce vaccine passports everywhere. I hope that's not going to be the end point of these experiments. I hope the end point is going to be that we realise just how wonderful it is to have this kind of freedom in our society.
And if the people who think that, I mean, I know people who think I'm crazy to get on a plane, I'm crazy to get on a train, they think people are insane to go to a concert like that. Well, fine, then don't do it. But you've had your vaccine. Shush, get on with your life. Take whatever, you know, take your chances in real life. The rest of us will do ours. But this is the thing. I wonder how much of this is just the theatre, the absolute theatre and pretense of going through these test events. If they tested everybody but didn't let them know whether they were positive or negative, and they had people, you know, in this concert, and they had, and then, you know, let's see if someone is positive, whether that would go ahead. Now that would be a real life experiment. I don't think it would be ethical to do that in those circumstances. Or if they said, right, one half is going to be masked and the other half not masked, and we'll see if there's any difference, then at least we learn something. The idea of a whole bunch of human beings going into one place together who've all been tested as negative for a disease, funnily enough, not spreading that disease to each other. I mean, frankly, as scientific experiments go, it's pretty meaningless.
It is pretty meaningless. I think we just have to get a grip and realise what's worth living. You know, that life is worth living. Concerts are good. People mixing is a good thing. All of these things are really worth celebrating, and we shouldn't allow the fear of COVID to interfere with everyday life. And you're absolutely right. If some people want to stay at home, stop going out, stop going to gigs, that's their business. But leave the rest of us to get on with life as it used to be.
Thank you very much. So let's talk about what happened on stage, though, because as always, there'll be virtual signalling. I mean, we had an NHS choir performing, because, of course, they're a top musical act up there with Coldplay and Elton John, Dua Lipa, aren't they? We had Dua Lipa demanding a fair pay rise for NHS staff, lots of whom were in the audience. And of course we had I was going to say Sugar Babes, they're not the Sugar Babes, are they? Little Mix on stage, winning an award, best band, and then complaining that they're the first girl band to win the award. We had to get the politics in, didn't we? Couldn't just have a fun evening with good music.
You just can't have an award ceremony these days without all this virtue signalling and posturing and pop stars making political statements. You know, that's not what we want them to do. We want them to look good, to sound good, to entertain us. We don't need lectures about the NHS or misogyny or equality or racism. I don't like the way in which popular culture has been hijacked by this woke posturing and this desire to constantly signal how good and important and virtuous we are. I wish these people would just go back to being fun. Yes. And you see the same in American ceremonies as well, of course. The Oscars, the Golden Globes, all of those have become kind of infected with woke posturing. And that's why, in fact, fewer and fewer people are watching these kinds of award ceremonies. The numbers are plummeting because people don't want a 3-hour lecture about the problems of the world. They just want to be able to forget about the problems of the world and be entertained for a bit.
And indeed, I'm going to have to say, we'll come on to the Golden Globes, but I mean, there's Little Mix. I mean, goodness me. So there were 4 of them. Now there are 3 of them going up on stage and complaining about sexism in this, in terms of being the first girl band to win best band. For a start, they don't write a single one of their songs. But I think virtually every one of the male winners of this have actually been their own songwriters as well. They're put together by Simon Cowell, for goodness sake. They're constantly taking off their clothes. I've seen them live about 3 times because I do have a 14-year-old daughter who wouldn't be seen dead at Little Mix concert now, but over the years they're actually fantastic performers live. I'll give them credit, but they always dress like hookers. I'm sorry, they look like $10 hookers at King's, £10 hookers at King's Cross every single time, and then they pose naked saying, oh, we're going to pose naked to show we're not ashamed of our bodies, to stop body shaming. And they're like, I mean, these women really, I mean, I'm sorry, they're laughable. And also they have blocked me on Twitter for telling them, when I told them to put their clothes back on and stop telling girls that taking your clothes off is empowerment. I mean, we did that in the 60s, girls. We've moved on, haven't we?
But, Little Mix, they're a good band. They've got some good songs.
Name one, Brendan.
Oh, no, I couldn't name the songs, but I know them when they come on the radio.
They've got some good tunes. They've got good voices.
My niece will go mad if I say anything critical about Little Mix. But you're absolutely right. They are this notion that they are this feministic band fighting for women, fighting for women's rights. It just doesn't stack up. These are people who are manufactured by men, largely, who dress in a particular way, who dress in a provocative way, who adhere to all those old stereotypes of what pop women should look like and sound like. The idea that they're out there, the Jermaine Greers of the pop world, I'm sorry, it just doesn't wash.
Absolutely not. Let's also talk, you mentioned the Golden Globes. Tom Cruise has returned his 3 Golden Globes in protest at the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. NBC, that normally show their awards for the Golden Globes, which is actually all voted for by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, they have said they're not going to air the 2022 awards. What have they done wrong now?
Well, they're always doing something wrong, aren't they? Apparently, there is a corruption scandal in the Hollywood Foreign Press, but also one of the big problems, of course, is they're seen as not being diverse enough. They needed a more diverse panel, a more diverse membership, and so the celebrities of Hollywood, who have become the guardians of diversity, of course, and the guardians of racial correctness and sexual correctness and gender equality, are protesting. But it's another example of an award ceremony that's supposed to be entertaining, just being taken over by this political posturing and this desire constantly to make a point about everything. It's no wonder that the viewership for the most recent Golden Globes was really, really low. It was about 1% of American households. Yeah. And for the Oscars this year, it was less than 10 million, which is the lowest it's ever been. It's usually around the 40 million mark. So numbers of viewers for these shows are declining all the time. And it's precisely because they've become so political and so painful and so virtuous. Yeah. I just think the entertainment world right now, especially as we're coming out of lockdown, it should remember that its job is to entertain us, not to lecture us.
Absolutely. It's just not that complicated, is it? Brendan O'Neill, editor of Spiked Online. Thank you, as always.